And we're now live. Welcome to the Curiosity and Command podcast supported by Cousin Summit. In each episode, we sit down with thoughtful people to explore leadership, discipline, growth, and the ideas that shape how we live and work. And today I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Tom Burgess.
Hello, Ben. How
Hey,
you
Tom.
doing?
I'm very well, my friend. And thanks for being thoughtful. I thought that was particularly fruitful for you and this conversation.
That's all right. I privileged to be jumping up and having a good chat with you, man. And I think from the very first moment that we bumped into each other at Wetherby Racecourse, it was nice to meet you then. It's nice to keep getting to know you, man.
Tom, it is honestly a pleasure from my end. I understand the mission that you're on, and it is a very personal one to a lot of us. And even before we get into it, just thank you, really. And I really mean that. So talking of missions then, can you take us right back to the very start of Save a Warrior and explain the origin story, please?
Gotcha. Now, the origin story of SAW is just over 14 years ago in the United States. A wild cat called Jake Clark claimed that he had the cure for suicide, and started to roll out this 5-day conversation out of the boot of his car in a car park in, I think it was in Malibu. And over that 14 years, it's iteratively, bits have been chopped off. It's got better. They've shrunk it down from 5 days down to 3. The team has grown. The building in which they deliver it is now, become a proper place. And the whole of the United States is coming to them for this cure for suicide. And in that 14-year period, best part of 2,400 men and women have been to sit with Jake and Adam and got their life turned back on, and identified that things in their life wasn't working, and said that they was done suffering. So that's where Save a Warrior comes from. Its origin from the United States. And Adam Gornell, who's the program lead for the UK, was writing some articles on LinkedIn, had been working in and around coaching, suicide prevention, and in this world for some time. And he put a few articles out there, and this chap called Terry Scariot crossed paths with these articles, read them, and said, I think you need to come over here because you're talking about what we're doing. And if you're interested in coming to see it and sit in this program and bringing it back to the UK as an ambassador, you're welcome. That was, I say, September, October 2022. Adam went over to the States, spent the best part of a month, a bit longer with them, and picked up the book of what Save a Warrior was and came back to the UK as an ambassador, and with nothing more than a good idea under his belt about let's roll this thing out. Didn't know how it was going to happen. He just knew what was going to happen. And he left the how up to the universe. And he said, I'll put a webinar on, LinkedIn webinar, and created the event and all of those things, and then hit send. And I found it. I found that webinar that Adam was promoting to talk about suicide prevention. And I only found it because a previous flight sergeant of mine was signed up to attend that, and the algorithm paired me and that guy up and the webinar. So this sort of crazy sequence of events that could be coincidence or a very well laid out plan in which to put us together unfolded. And I asked Adam if I could help promote his webinar for him. As a veteran, I started up my own little sales and marketing agency. And I said, mate, can I help? I think I love what you're doing. I want to invite more people along. Whether I did a good job at that or not is debatable. But I sat there and listened to this webinar between Adam and Jake Clark and dinged a little bell in the back of my head. Maybe, just maybe, there was something going on for me that I needed a bit of help with. but I didn't have the courage to ask him or say that I think I need a bit of help here. So I just plodded on, and Adam and I grew in this sort of professional relationship and a growing friendship. The December of that year, and I'm cooking a curry in the kitchen, and I learnt of a friend of mine that I was on basic training with and served with for a few years. After his third attempt, was successful with plan for suicide and died by his own hand. And it fucking wobbled me. It really did wobble me. And Adam helped me, grieve that loss of a friend. But it helped to lubricate this understanding in me that there's a past in my life of, I didn't value my life. So I put my hand up and said, mate, do you think I can fly over to America and, for a recce, bring the stuff back over? Because I'm a marketer, I need to know how to translate this thing. I can't translate it if I haven't sat the seat, And he remembered the conversation really well. He just chuckled. All right, mate. Yeah, go for a recce. And that was the story. That was the story I told myself. I'm going for a recce. And in the July of that year, 2023, flying out to Ohio, got a notebook, a bag full of good ideas about all of this stuff and what I thought Save a Warrior was, right up to about 5 minutes before they opened the door to let us in. I'm still in that story mode. And then one guy called Greg, who was my lead shepherd, he's wonderful human being, Greg LaValle, sort of stands there with his hands cupped across his chest and goes, guys, just take a look over the shoulder of the guys that are in front of you and just look down at that lake, that beautiful lake down there. You're never going to see it again. With the eyes that you have in you now, you're going to look differently when you come out of this room. Just want you to take this moment and really remember this moment, because this is where everything changes. And like as sure as I can feel the goosebumps across my entire body right now, I can still see that lake, and I can still remember what it looked like beforehand. And then this door opened and fucking everything changed from there, man. And it was at that point I realized I'm not here for a recce. I'm here because parts of my life don't work, and I'm fucking done suffering. And then from that point, a guy explained my life to me on a whiteboard. It took 3 hours. He went, dot, 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 these things here. Does any of this sound familiar? And I'm nodding like a fucking dog on the back seat. Yeah. And I'd never listened to anything more intently. Like all of the orders, all of the patrol, all of the stuff, all of that. Couldn't give a monkeys about that compared to what I was listening to here. And I returned home a better man, connected, a declaration to be an incredible husband, and one day maybe a father if that ever happens for me. But a conversation now grew between Adam and I. Like, it's like, mate, I get it. You get it? I said, I get it. Let's fucking do this. And we made a declaration right there and then to burn the boats, as it were, make this the thing, come what may. It will hurt. We will not have money. People will look at us like we're fucking psychotic. You want to do what? But, 3 years later, we're still going. We've run 4 cohorts now. We've got our 5th teed up for August. 31 men have sat with us. And people still look at us like we're psychotic and we still don't have any money. But guess what? 31 men have got their lives back, walking around their families and their communities and their places of work alive. Some more so than others, some denying it a little bit and taking a little bit longer than others. That's okay. It's not one size fits all job. But, we've done a thing. And it's all down to Adam writing a couple of LinkedIn articles at the beginning of 2022. So without that, we wouldn't be here doing this. And, I'd still be selling sofas or cars or double glazing or whatever it was, online or in person, who knows? Proper
It
sliding door.
certainly sounds like this is your purpose, and the 31 lives is a legacy that you leave behind. Something I want to double click on which you mentioned right at the start, and then you mentioned that you've noticed it in other people, and that's the avoidance. When you were doing your recce, did you recognize at the time that that was avoidance, and what were you avoiding?
We have a term of art for it. It's called the veil of denial. All right, so a little sneak behind the curtain here, the veil of denial, and it can lift. It can feel like a proper weighted, wax heavy cloak that you can't see through, or it can lift like a silk, piece of material. Just it will lift, but one's got to take a bit more effort than the other. Now, I knew I was going over to do something quite profound. I knew I was going over to attend something that was, life changing. But I'd been denying my own language around my own suicide, or my thinking, my ideation around that, which had been there most of my life. I just got really good at shutting it down. But it was this thing that was just, I didn't value my own life. So it was there all along. But I was really good at looking good, smiling, telling jokes, cracking on, beers down the pub. I was all right. I was fit. I was healthy. On the surface, Tom looked tip top. But underneath it, there was always this, I'm not good enough. No, I don't know my place. I keep fucking up. It's always my fault. That didn't happen because I did something. That did happen because I fucked up. They did that to you because you're a piece of shit. Or you did that to them because you're a piece of shit. Da, 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 da. So all sat up here. I didn't have the language for that before going in that door. So the denial piece for me was I just didn't know what I didn't know. And no amount of reading books or listening to podcasts can really give you that experience of transformation like you can receive within 3 days. You'd be surprised what we can do in 3 days. There's a bit of sleep involved, but it's more than a handhold and a drag into. It's like, hold on, we're going to, Kansas is bye-bye kind of thing. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once you learn the language, you can't unlearn it. You can deny it again. Like if you really want to truly fuck it off out the window, you can do. But it will, even if it's 1%, it will do something. It will change something, and it will course correct back to where we're all destined, and we're all going to die, and we want to get people back to a natural happy death. If happy death is a thing, we don't want them steering right into a collision course with oblivion and by their own making. So if that answers your question, I hope it does. But yeah, I was aware of my denial, but I didn't know I was denying it.
I think that's something that keeps coming up, certainly in the circles that I've been rolling in recently, is a lack of understanding around what suffering is and how do you know if you're suffering? Because I think there's a lot of people that just, they may be, but they don't know because it's just a word. It's like, you need to be more charismatic. Okay, well, your version of what having charisma is may be different to someone else. So how can you help people understand suffering?
My name's Tom and I'm an alcoholic. I chose to drink. All of the aggro in my life that came out of alcohol was a chosen form of suffering. I suffered as a result of all of that. It looked good and it looked fun and it was all good, well and good when you're out at 2 a.m. partying and boogieing on the dance floor with the section and all of that good stuff. It looks good, right? But it's suffering. It's a choice, the second I chose to stop suffering around alcohol, life got better. No coincidence. I quit drinking around about the same time that Adam's flying out to America. It was August 18th, 2022. So a month or two here or there, right? So and I didn't even know it, and I didn't know it. I'd already started this journey towards walking in that door. I'd started to get sober. I started to look at the carnage and the dysfunction that was in my world and my life. I recognized that if I went back to that at any point or in the future, even just once, I'm straight back into alcoholism again. So it was, the recognition of that for me was key. But suffering can look like normal day life because we're really good at, humans are really good at playing the game. Like everything's fine, mate. I didn't know that, Tom was an alcoholic. He was always alive and soul of the party. Yeah. And I'm the one that's feeding people. I'm the one that's getting people drunk. Want another drink, mate? Like, yeah, have a double wash. Because underneath it all, the strategy of my life, or strategy in that pie, was I want to get fucking steaming drunk to the standard, like the standard where I want to get drunk. And I can't do that if I'm the only drunk in the room. Everyone's got to be drunk for me to get there because then no one will remember in the morning. And it was a good night, right? So that was Tom's party trick. Get everyone else steaming. And then I can go full out. Not proud of
Are there
that.
any
That's a thing.
are there any other warning signs that you would look out for that maybe you experience yourself or that you see in other people?
Yeah. The word saying that they're going to do something and just not doing it, treating our word like it's just frivolous. Our word is the most valuable thing we have. It's the only thing we have control over. It's the only thing, our name was given to us. We can choose a name, right? Our word. So when I will look at someone's actions and their word, and if they're in alignment, if how they're talking and how they're walking is different, that's the thing there. LinkedIn's a brilliant thing, right? Because the posts look good. And if you know the person's even just a little bit behind it, okay, that doesn't add up to that. And then when you start a DM, how cool am I? Direct message. You start a conversation with this person and build a genuine connection and genuine friendship. You can actually start to see that there is a difference as to what the world wants to see and what I think the world wants to see out of me online and how I'm showing up on my own. And if you can be a friend and get in the way of that, maybe you can just enough highlight this for them, and then maybe they'll put their hand up and get out. Probably part of the reason why not many of my old mates talk to me online anymore. But I do this work because I don't want to see people, suffering. And the biggest question to ask someone, is, are you done suffering? It's the simplest four words in the world. Precursor it with their name. Drop their name in at the beginning and a good pause. Hang on, this sounds serious. Yeah, are you done suffering? And you say yes. And when they start to, well, no, mate, stop. It's a yes or no. Really hold them into that. It's a yes or no. If it's a no, great, carry on. I love you. Go. If it's a yes, brilliant. Right, you just access level 2 of this thing. And, it's all by choice. You can keep going down and getting as much as you want. It's all for you. It's all for free. Go. But none of that comes about without a curiosity as well. Without curiosity about what is going on for me internally inside. Fucking hell. Is this it? Got no money again, but I've got whatever the thing is. It's not just drink. There are many ways that we can numb out. Spending money we don't have on a credit card is another great way. But yeah, ask someone that you're concerned about. Are you done suffering? And you don't have to point them at us, but you can point them at any form of help. We talk about complex post-traumatic stress, moral injury, military sexual trauma, and suicide. That might not be required for everyone. Might just be a specific event. We do layered up events over a course of life. That's what we talk about.
Something that's kind of starting to resonate with me a lot is how these days we're so connected. We're constantly attached to our phones. We're sending DMs, and that connection is making us lose connection. And to actually stop and be curious, just that I think is so important, to actually reach out to someone. So I've started a new SOP. So my new SOP is, if I think of someone, I have to reach out to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done. That's it. It's no secret, that's it. Wonder how Bill's doing. Bill, how you doing, mate? Oh, well, good. You sure? Because last time we spoke, you was bag of bones mess at the bottom of the stairs crying because blah, 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 blah. Are you good? Yeah. No, actually, I'm not. Okay, good, man. Let's meet up for a coffee, cup of tea, go bowling, whatever the thing is, go for a run. Who knows? But yeah, reach out. Um, reach out.
Do you find that it takes another follow-up before people actually starting to open up? Then is the default answer, yeah, I'm fine?
Sometimes there are some that there's a fear. They know they're standing in a big, wet, stinky puddle of trauma, of grief, of suffering, of whatever the thing is. It's affecting everything, and they know they're there, but they won't do anything for themselves. They'll avoid responsibility. Where they are, and I can talk about this for myself, where I was comfortable. I'm comfortable with the level of suffering that I have. I know where I am. I know that if I do this, I'll get that outcome. And if I do that, I'll get that outcome. And I'm not going there. Fuck that. So there's this familiarity with the suffering which we find ourselves in, right? And it often comes down to all four wheels have got to fall off this bus. Not three. We can get away with two. We just lean over on the left like Bond, right? Everyone to the left of the bus. All four wheels have got to be off this thing, and the fucking engine's got to be scooting down the road with sparks coming out of it. And then, okay, maybe I need to get some help. We call that bottoming out for those in the anonymous world. Bottoming out after a conversation with a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Ron Hill. We're chit-chatting, Ron and I, and I'm like, mate, what is bottoming out? We know this term, we know this language, right? It's out there. It's quite, but what is it? Because if we all bottom out and the end result is a suicide, in the worst cases, you've got people with money and people without money all bottoming out, So what's the common thing? And in conversation, we spoke it so like that. It's a meter of love for themselves. When that meter hits zero, I've got no love for myself. There it is. That's the common denominator, whether you're rich or poor, in work or out of work, with Mrs., Mr., out, lonely, whatever. It's that love meter. So when that hits zero, bang, there's not much else you can do. And that one we did copyright. You did hear that first, but that was a while back now, and I tend to just look out for the people, and I also look out for it in myself. Do I hear this the right way, kids? Do I love myself today? Not big-headed, not gloaty, not sort of like woo-woo, kooky, or anything like that. Like, how much do I love myself? Am I in love with who I am as a being today? Am I showing up in love for others, with others? And am I connected to my higher power? Am I in love with God? That's a thing that I would not have said 3 years ago, because denial was a heavy thing around spirituality in my life growing up. We don't do God. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I have faith. That's a thing. And that's nothing to do with Sabre Warrior, by the way, but it helped me get there. Forgetting what your original question was, because I do tend to waddle off on this conversational domain of just forming words out there. We've got to love ourselves, because if we don't, this is the best relationship we ever have. You know, it's the only one that we can really have forever. Others will come and go. Sometimes we get lucky and we find our, partner, and they're good people, and we stay in partnership with them for life in a relationship. I'm lucky I've done that. Her name's Kate. She's awesome. But all of this work I've done on myself is to be the best husband I can be for her. And if we're blessed to have kids, I'll be a wicked father. And I'm already a good father by my own standard. I don't have a child to be a father for, but I'm prepared. I'm ready for that, should it happen. And if not, that's okay.
There's a few things that I want to double click on there. The first thing that I would like to be more inquisitive over is self talk, because you hear a lot, be kind to yourself. And I don't think that lands with people because they don't understand what that is. Can you expand on that?
2 tests, and I'm making these up on the spot, but to test what your internal language sounds like, stub your toe. Go and stub your toe. And that instant verbalization, like, yeah, it will hurt, but what the language that comes out, that will be like the worst side, the worst kind of it, you know. But also knock a pint of water over onto a table. And if what comes out is, there, it's just paper, it will dry, not that important. Yeah, the laptop buggered, but it's just a laptop. Version A. Or if it's a flurry of violent language, they're fuck this and all, like, all right, fine, we're breaking stuff, are we? And it turns into this 72-hour flurry of violence and like knocking into other relationships. And right there, we've got that, identification of what like that go-to default setting of internal language can be, right? And we've got a term of art for that. And it sits over in our mind over this, in this realm here. He comes out and it's really critical thinking. You've got judgmental language coming out of all of it. It tends to be words and phrases and actions that I've heard from people in my past. Could be a parental, in the military, it could be a senior commander or someone in that leadership role, or if you're searching for that, some sort of a sticky plaster father figure. But that negative self-talk, that sends more people to the grave. That sends everyone to an early grave, because it's that inner conflict with the critical parent, the critical, angry. Sorry, I'm going somewhere there. It's in those moments where rash decisions are made that you can't come back from, and that breaks up relationships, crashes cars into trees. You can't come back from it. A lot of good people are in jail or dead because of that internal conflict they had with themselves. Sounded like them, the words came from them. There's no imaginary genie that pops up that you end up having this conversation with. It was me that said, "You're a piece of shit, go kill yourself." Oh, fucking hell, yeah, you got a point. I was fine, and then I wasn't. And I've made a decision. Like, fuck it. Nothing left to live for. And I had everything left to live for. But the suffering that I was choosing to be in meant I had this teeny tiny lens that I was looking through, and I couldn't see life. I wasn't looking because I was stuck in this tunnel vision of what life was at that time. And I did a really good job of shutting everything else out and making that aperture on life real tiny, just a pinprick. Once it takes time to get down to that, it will take time to come out of that as well. It's not an overnight fix. So,
What comes up for you when you talk about that now and talk about the language that you use about yourself?
I catch myself, and I ain't perfect. Never going to be, don't want to be. There is this pendulum of how my mood state is always in a state of flux, always. Tide comes up, tide goes down. We're always ever going to be in change. Nothing stays the same. No constants in life. Okay. And now, dingbat. Why did you do that? Hang on a minute. Where have I heard that before? Where have I heard the language dingbat? Oh, I remember that moment there. I can take myself back to that point there, and the recording element of my childhood brain recorded that thing, planted it in there. And to be really clear, I think I've said the word dingbat twice in my life, but I've heard it a few times.
I know.
But that takes me straight back to a period of childhood trauma and bullying that I experienced from an adult. That was like after school club. Mum and dad was working, so we would go to this like after school club, and there was other kids there, and it was, but the the guardian, the caregiver, for want of a better word, was nasty, peckish, bullying, didn't like me for some reason. That was my perceived fit. Why don't you like me? Like, not verbalizing this, but it's in the back here. And I did something happened. I received criticism or harsh treatment, or I didn't get dinner. And then she would then tell my mum that I'd been a dingbat for. So our childlike brain, when it's making up who we are as a person between the ages of 0 and 4 and 5, seeing how the adults act and treat each other, that's what adulting looks like. That's, okay. I like that person. That's my dad. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. That's my grandfather. That's my mum. I'm going to be like, I'm going to replicate this, and then maybe I'll get their love, right? Because that's all we want as kids. We want love. They have ours unconditionally. Love. You are everything. It's whether we receive that in return. That's the biggest thing. So we end up in that early on, not knowing what we don't know here. No language as 5 years old. We end people pleasing. We end up entertaining. We do stuff in which to manipulate the appropriate response in life, which is love, safety, secure, food, clothing, all of that stuff. Yeah. Run out of runway on that one.
How do you feel about the 5-year-old you?
Got a lot of love for that boy. And every now and then he gets a bit worried. He gets a bit scared. And I connect him with that little lad, little Tom in a Superman costume when he's 4 years old at his nan and granddad's. Got that picture as a real life picture. Maybe one day it will be a profile picture for LinkedIn. Who knows? But, I got a lot of love for that kid. I connect in with him as well. Adam helped me get there. Really did. Thank you, brother. Because I didn't know that little Tom felt abandoned. Didn't know that little Tom needed, reassuring every now and then. It's going to be all right. Watch. Got this. And that catch of my thinking is little Tom. It's where it gets a bit weird and off-piste, right? That's little Tom going, I've been here before, mate. You've let me down. No. Hang on a minute, mate. Jen, I might have done that in the past. Might have sent you off on a 3-day bender. Whatever the thing was. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm going to do the right thing by us. Come on, mate. Let's go. And we was talking about FTG beforehand, right? You've got to do that 60-second pitch and stand up on the stage. Genuinely, like the minute to 5 minutes before that, I'm connecting with little Tom, right? Because he's fucking terrified. Standing on stage, talking to all of them people, the bigger kids. No, we don't do that. And the telltale is like that comes up here. Oh, what am I going to say? Don't know what I'm going to say. Who's this? And I'm like, mate, dude, you know your stuff. They're just people. And you've got friends in the crowd as well. Relax, man. Go be fucking awesome. And, that's what I do. And I get up and I say some words. And after 60 seconds, I sit down, I black out, and I have no idea what I've just said. But words are spoken and people come over and have a chat with us, and there it is. And the things that I did write down, I never really get off anyway, but it's a good starting block and a push in the right direction. But, we've, through that mechanism, we found people as well, which is That's the reason why we do it, man.
So I suppose that brings us beautifully to, how does Save a Warrior save people? What can I expect? What what is the journey?
It is a journey, an incredible journey, an adventure, one that must be taken freely from someone's own choice. There's no cost to it. It's a free event. No one will ever pay to attend Save a Warrior. That's a promise. But you've got to have an element of curiosity about, one, I know there's something wrong with how I'm showing up as an adult. There must be a better way of living this thing called life. And yeah, you need to set off on an adventure, pack your bags, and hit a button on our website, hit submit. You've got to submit over to something great. It's not an apply button. It's not an online application button. It's submit for a reason, because parts of my life don't work, and I'm submitting to over to something that I don't know what's on the other side. A website says everything that we do, and it's intentionally vague because you've got to put yourself in others. And we once they've submitted that application, they fill in a form, name, address, bits and pieces, nothing too strenuous. But they'll jump on a roster call with us, and that's the first, leg of the journey. It's also the first point at which they can verbally say, "No, I don't want this," and that's okay. I've had a few people say that, but we'll ask them if all you've got to be is honest, open, and willing. Honest with yourself first about what's going on for you internally and where you came from in life and how you're living it now. All right, honest with me. Don't lie. We have a really, I won't call anyone out for a lie. I'm not in the job of making people wrong, but why are you here? Be surprised, so be surprised how many roster calls we've got to where the submission form is answering all of this stuff, and I'm reading. I'm like, "Right, so why are we here, man? What's wrong?" And we just won't go there. They won't go there to that point. Man, I want to help you get there. I've got this thing over here. Adam and I, we've got this thing. It's yours. I want to get you there, but you've got to come forward with some stuff. It's a very loving way that we do it. It's not horrible, but we need to identify if people are ready to have that conversation, because they might not be done suffering. You see, might still be a little bit more suffering that they want to choose, or the alcohol is still on scene, and that's another term of art: dry wood. We need people to be sober, because if you're still mucking around with alcohol or whatever the substance is, you're not going to be thinking about what we're talking about. You're going to be worrying about the next fix. So, yeah, honesty. It starts from there. If we haven't got honesty, we haven't got it. And it will. They might show up, in denial, turning up to the door, thinking that they're going for a recce. Me too. Me too. Yeah, we haven't got honesty. We haven't got it. So once there's
It's so easy to lie to yourself.
oh mate, all the time. Yeah, like that white lies don't hurt nobody. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Because it waters down our word. And once someone gets through that roster process, if they've admitted that life is dysfunctional and that they're done suffering, it then turns into a logistical call. Great. Well done. You deserve this. I'm incredibly proud of you. Thank you so much, right, for believing in yourself that you can live something different than what you've got right now. Get your diary out. We're going to go there right now. Logistics. Let's do this. My favorite part, date. Here's the date. Is there any reason why you can't make that date? Yes. Okay. What's the reason? Stag do. Dude, that's not a reason. Cancel the stag do. Is it your stag do? No. Whose is it? Jim's. Is he your best mate? Like, are you in his pocket day in, day out? No. When did you last see him? 2.5 years ago. Cancel the fucking stag do. Right? This is your life. Yeah. Let's get things in the right perspective here. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And like it's at that point, with ruthless compassion, I will identify the fact that everything else needs to be off the table. Work, I've got a work interview. Chin it off. That's not the right job for you anyway. Maybe. is getting your life back on track so you truly know who you are and what you want out of life. Is that more important than a job at project management X company, whereversville? Think about it. Sometimes they choose the job. Okay, I love you, go. And they can knock back on the door. Few rarely do. There's honesty. But the door's always open. Once they've got to that point, we've gone there and we've had that conversation, and there's an element of I really want them to get it. I truly do. You said about mission earlier on. But there's nothing else on this planet I would rather do. Nothing.
Tom, how do you look after yourself through this service? And this is a form of service, and I personally believe that there is a self-service, and you can't look after us if you don't first look after yourself. So how does that show up for you?
I agree with that. If I'm not fit for service, I'm not. If I'm not looking after myself, I'm not able to look after anyone else, right? I 100% agree with that. It's a really simple question, really simple answer to what is, philosophically a deep question. I do the work, the same work that the lads get presented with. Make your bed, say your prayers, be in service to other people, be in community with other people, do the shit you don't want to do, admin of life, the laborious, numbing stuff. Like, we'll do that later. The procrastination stuff. Do that later. Do it all. Do all of that stuff. Meditate, breathe, eat healthy, be connected with myself, my wife, my friends. Let them know that I love them. Show gratitude for everyone that walks in through that co-working space door that I bump into in the high street. The random people I walk up to in the high street around fair, and when I'm bored at the desk, I call it bumping into life. And I'm like, all right, how you doing? I'm okay. Good. What are you up to? Oh, fucking hell, he's not going away. I, I just talk to people, I get joy out of that. I love it. And this shopping centre as well, is great for that. There's I know the shopkeepers and all that. There's this little weird sort of mini community forming underneath it all. And I've got to catch myself when I'm having that negative self-talk. There's a tell. What have I been chinning off recently for me to start thinking like this? Hydration is a big one. If I don't drink 2 litres of water a day, sometimes more, depends if I've done a bit of fizz or not, foggy, tired, ratty, like that's like the snakes and ladders right the way back down to the beginning. Stay on top of your water. I love caffeine, but I've got to drink water as well.
I want to be respectful of your time, and I'd love to have you back on because there's a few things I'd love to cover, but I want to give it its due time. But before we do, you fleetingly touched on it before about your faith, and I have noticed a resurgence in people finding faith, coming back to faith. Do you mind talking about that?
I can talk on a personal aspect of it. The resurgence, the out there in this cult of society, I can't really talk to. But, at the most harrowing times of some of the tours that I did, I turned to faith. God, get me out of this. Lying there. God, if I wake up in the morning, thank you. I clutched onto a little issued Bible. I had that, read it a couple of times. Didn't make much sense, but it's always been there. I came from that, right? I'm going to that when I die. It's this bit in the middle. There's this sort of like humanity denial aspect of it, and that's Satan's work on the world, right? To make you forget that that's where you came from and that's where you're going. Because if you forget that's where you're going, then he wins. He takes you down to the lower levels and all of that. Whether you believe that or not, up to you. Save a Warrior is not an evangelical conversion piece either. It's not. but it's how I found Christ, because it helped me lift this denial, this knowing that I already had. And it helped me, get reconnected to that. I was no longer embarrassed about saying I believe in God. That's what it helped me get back to. There's a wonderful comfort in it, and there's evidence everywhere of an existence of a God. Everywhere. It's in absolutely everything. Prove it. Okay. Just look around. Go and bump into people in the high street. Have that common humanity with someone. It's in everything you touch. It's thread through everything. It's how I found Save a Warrior through a webinar from Adam on LinkedIn. Undeniable. Undeniable. That's how I have it. That's what I believe.
I think that's a beautiful point to stop on, that connecting thread that connects us all together, because we are all one. We are all made up of the same stuff. We are infinitely connected to every living being here. And who knows what the higher power may be? Who knows how many times we get to be here and experience this and learn and develop our soul. It's an interesting thought experiment.
Very interesting.
Something that's come up for me is avoid avoidance. Double negative. Be very mindful of your self-talk and do the basics very well. Anything else you'd add?
Yeah, something you said. SOP of, if I'm thinking about someone, connect to them. So thank you for that gift.
You can have that one for free, my friend. I won't copyright it.
Thanks, man.
Tom, this is amazing. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure knowing you over the brief period that we have. And like I said, right at the very start, thank you for what you do. I think it is outstanding. And if you'd be willing, I'd love to have you on again, and we can take us down a few avenues. Again, I keep doing this. I write loads of notes and I've got nowhere near what I actually wanted to get done. So it would be an honor if you would return at some point again.
Yeah, I'd love to. And, I'm not doing this alone, and I certainly wouldn't be doing it without Adam. So he'll probably talk into it with a little bit more elegance than I would or could as well. But in layman's terms, I can put the point across, I think. But yeah, man, if you'll have me, I'll come back. Honored to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.